If you live in or are visiting South Florida this weekend, be sure to see me at the Miami Book Fair today from 12:45 to 1:45 p.m. as I will sign copies of my latest book, Fashion Girl 3.0. Be sure to ask me questions about it as well. I hope to see you there. Fashion Girl is an intellectual property of the United States Cartoon Football League.
All right, I made a touchdown.
Don't you believe it?
Greetings. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network bringing you this special message as we will talk about the recent election and the future of this great sports league. If you're joining us for the first time, may we extend to you a cordial welcome, and we hope you'll continue to enjoy everything this channel has to offer. We also invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel and join our team. Normally, we strive to be one of YouTube's least offensive channels by providing a different spin about your favorite cartoon characters from the past and present that doesn't reflect on their true legacies. If your favorite character or characters aren't mentioned in our videos, please leave a comment and we will answer your questions. Also, be sure to ring the bell to alert you of when we put up any new videos. The USCFL is on Patreon, and you can help support us for as low as $3 a month to as much as $5 a month, which averages out to 10 to 17 cents a day. In time, we can offer merchandise and other perks to help show your love for America's oldest fantasy football league. Before I go into this video, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 56 years old. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but I've been a Florida resident for over 50 years. I grew up in Florida, went to school here, and worked here as well. I was raised by both my mother and my maternal grandmother. I didn't have a male family influence in my life. My mother divorced my father when I was a baby. I'm an only child, and as was my mother, so I didn't have brothers, uncles, or even male cousins. As I got older, my mother learned about sports, and at one point, she could talk about football every bit as much as any man could. I have a certain respect towards women, and I'd be the last man on earth to think that a woman can't do anything a man can do. When I was in school, the first girl I had a crush on could play sports better than I could. I was a bowling prodigy, and she could out even bowl me. I had female classmates, teachers, customers, co workers, managers, doctors, and friends of a non intimate relationship. When I created the USCFL in 1981, the idea of it being a co-ed league could have been thought of differently then as opposed to how it would be received now. When the league kicks off its 45th year and 20th year online, it's a testament to its longevity and its mission to be as inclusive as possible. In previous videos, I have stated that certain characters aren't eligible to play in this league, and it will be explained later on. I also, as you know, created Fashion Girl for the same belief that women can do anything a man can do, and in some cases, even better. Although I'm retired now, I spent 15 years in the retail industry and 18 years overall in the workforce. As you know, I named the Style Chicks after department stores because of my past employment in retail, even though I never worked for these stores. When I did work, I dealt with some very savory, or I should say unsavory managers who, for one reason or another, my actual performance on the job wasn't entirely the issue. It was how I was treated as an employee and as an individual. I dealt with everything from being forced to work for free, forced to work nearly around the clock without a break or taking as much as 5 minutes to rest, being accused of things, and even was forced to apologize to a South American tourist for being an American. No employee and nobody should ever have to put up with any of that. Being forced to apologize for who or what I am was the straw that broke the camel's back. I lost that job on account of insubordination. But put yourself in my place. Would you be that way too if you were treated like that? Because of where I live, I couldn't get a job anywhere, and it wasn't that I didn't try. I'm not bilingual, and therefore I was told that as long as that was the case, I would never work again. When I was 34 years old, I went back to school in an attempt to get a better job with better pay and not be treated like a second-class citizen. During that time, I had to deal with my mother's obsession of going to every scheduled event for every club or organization she belonged to. It affected my studies, and the school didn't help matters either. When I graduated in 2005, my mother felt sick, and I had to leave the graduation ceremony. When my name was called and I didn't show up, my counselor asked me days later what had happened. I told her, and she couldn't believe it. I went through a program to get these credentials called the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, or Voc Rehab for short. They chose for me to learn PC support services or the repair of computers for homes and businesses. They did pay for everything. After I graduated from school, I spent the next 12 years to find work in this new field. I was sent to job developer after job developer, but none of them tries to even remotely find work in this new field. The best the last developer could do for me was to clean out cotton candy machines in movie theaters. Believe me when I tell you that if my computer is on the blink, I need the Geek Squawk at Best Buy to fix it. When I learned then wouldn't apply to the computers of today. I learned DOS, for crying out loud. Who uses DOS in today's day and age? When I was in school, I took part in a job fair that was held in the gym. I went to the computer lab and printed out as many copies of my resume as possible and gave it to every single company that was there. When I gave my resume to an employment agency, the woman I handed it to took one look at it, threw it back in my face, and said that I have a red flag resume. I asked her what the hell did she mean that I have a red flag resume. She told me that I didn't hold a job for long. Of the time I did work, 3 jobs I had totaled 13 of the 18 total years in the workforce. She even had the nerve to tell me that my resume wasn't good enough to line a birdcage with. How insulting can you get? When I tried to ask for an application at McDonald's one time, the manager told me I had to be bilingual to flip hamburgers. A simple "we're not hiring at the moment" would have been more than sufficient. This is what I had to deal with over the years. Now I'm too sick to work, and being out of work for 22 years doesn't help either. Health-wise, I have dealt with diabetes, arthritis, AFib, and the beginnings of cataracts. When it comes to politics, I try to leave that subject alone. As I learned as a child, and I'm sure most of you had as well, that there are 2 things that you never ever talk about to anyone: religion and politics. But I have followed how it turned out. But I have followed the election and how it turned out. It didn't seem to matter who I voted for, how I voted, or how involved I am in the process. I don't support candidates in terms of volunteering or donations, but I do my constitutional duty every 2 years and vote. I voted in my 10th presidential election, and the last 3 times I didn't vote for Trump, nor did I care to. The more videos I've seen about this, the madder I get. I am scared for my very life concerning his reelection. I'm afraid that I could lose everything my late mother left me. I am also afraid that the military could break down my door because they might think that I'm harboring immigrants or migrants. But I will say this: my mother's parents and other relatives voted Republican. I'm just glad that they aren't alive to see what's happening now. I feel the same way about my mother, that she didn't live to see any of this either. I agree the price of everything is expensive, but it's hard to try to save a dollar in this day and age. If I should lose everything on account of this reelection, the USCFL is dead, as is Fashion Girl, because I can no longer afford to put the USCFL on YouTube, or I won't be able to publish another Fashion Girl book. And that's what I want to talk about. Think about the idea that the new administration wants to eliminate services like Medicare, the Department of Education, the Environmental Protection Agency, NOAA, the FBI, and other services that have helped millions of Americans year in and year out. The idea that women can't make medical decisions on their own is crazy, or that drinking water turns kids gay, that vaccines don't work, that Trump wants to put certain people in offices that are accused of some pretty vile things. Teachers aren't teaching kids about becoming gay. Parents, relax. Your son or daughter will not come home being the opposite. Being LGBT is not a choice. It's not a lifestyle. And it's not like if someone who is LGBT makes some kind of contact with someone who isn't, that it will change them. The cause is a certain gene or the lack of a certain gene that causes this. I'm not that way, but this is a medically proven fact. You don't wake up one morning and say, "Gee, I think I'll be gay today." It just doesn't work like that. If it did, everybody could change. Now, as you know, that the USCFL is a co-ed league. Both male and female players can share the field at the same time and can play any position. I've estimated that the total rosters of all 16 teams are 55% male and 45% female. When we put up our annual introduction video in February, there will be some changes to the roster. What you will also see is an M for a male player or an F for a female player. I don't make money off of it. I do this mostly for fun, and it's a good way to spend my free time. I work hard week in and week out during the season, and it takes me a long time just to make a 45-minute to 1 hour video and nearly 12 hours for the Disney Bowl. I only have 3 supporters on Patreon, and as of the date of this video and in 2 years, I have amassed only 187 US dollars and 55 cents. It's still not enough money to provide the first wave of merchandise for the league. The merchandise would feature the league's logo only and not any character. If I made just 1 cent off of Mickey Mouse, Disney would sue me in ways my attorney wouldn't know about. That's why we say that even if the game, score, and stats are real, the highlights are a simulation. As for Fashion Girl, in 8 years, I have only made about $250 in royalties. I don't have the resources or the ability to travel the country or to get on television, radio, or do interviews for newspapers or magazines. For the new book I put out earlier this year, I have spent more on that book than I did for the other 3 books combined. Most of it will be my participation in the Miami Book Fair. So get this made clearly. As long as I'm able to do the USCFL online, nothing will change as far as who's on each team is concerned. As for characters who might be ineligible, rebooted characters who aren't anthropomorphic, and who can't speak are all ineligible. Snoopy and Pluto were early exceptions to this rule. They would be ineligible today. And as we pointed out during the She-Ra controversy, the rebooted characters from the new show are also ineligible. And characters like Garfield and Quick Draw McGraw are eligible, while Battle Cat and Swiftwind aren't. Otherwise, if the league is made aware of new characters that have never been brought in the league before, will be looked into, but we need your help to let us know in the comments about the status of these characters. Help us figure out who these characters are, what shows they come from, and their significance. We will look into it, and if we like what we see, we will put them in the league based on who made them, when they were made, or what network they aired on. Each USCFL stadium has 3 locker rooms, one for the male players, one for the female players, and a 3rd locker room for pregame, halftime, and postgame competitions by the coaches. As for Fashion Girl, for nearly 17 years, she's been made out like a bastard at a family reunion. She was once called a joke. People don't take the idea of a stylish crime fighter seriously. And it shows in terms of how much money I have made on my investment. I have also heard that wives are divorcing their husbands. Girlfriends are dumping their boyfriends. Families are being torn apart. Parents are disowning their children, and other family members who don't want Trump voters to take part in the holidays and will never speak to them ever again. I don't need any more criticism in my life, and it doesn't matter who I voted for and how I voted. Remember, I had to apologize to a South American tourist for being an American. It was the most humiliating moment of my life. Now I even feel ashamed because I am an American. I hope none of you ever feel ashamed of who you are, what you are, or where you came from. I wish you all a very happy and safe Thanksgiving and an early happy and safe holiday season. Look for my video as I will record the book signing I will do. And until next time, this is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network, wishing you now more than ever peace. And now more than ever, we need to be at peace. Take care, and as always,